In this video, I will demonstrate how to import files and website addresses into rootsTrust using drag and drop. First, let's talk about files. rootsTrust allows you to link document, multimedia, and heraldry files to its database objects, which are persons, families, events, names, sources, references, repositories, places, and venues. Documents are images of birth, marriage, and death certificates, wills, census pages, etc., while multimedia files are photos, videos, and audio clips. Heraldry files are simply pictures of family crests. The only prerequisite for linking files to your database objects is that you have a combined file cabinet or separate file cabinets for documents, multimedia files, and heraldry files. There's nothing complicated about a file cabinet. It is simply a folder on a storage device that acts as a container for the files you choose to link to things in your rootsTrust database. If you have opted to use combined type file cabinets, all you need is one. In a combined file cabinet, all document, multimedia, and heraldry files are stored together in a separate subfolder for each person. For this video, I will use a database that has no files or websites linked to it. I have set up one combined type file cabinet, which is now empty. And here it is, type combined, located at G file cabinets combined. And here it is. If we go back up one level, you can see there's only one folder in the file cabinets folder, and it is combined and it is empty. So each rootsTrust object type has at least one table associated with it on a panel or form. For example, the documents, multimedia, and heraldry panels of the person view all have such a table. Multimedia, documents, and heraldry. Each of these three panels also has a thumbnail pane. These tables and thumbnail panes are drag and drop target zones. That is, they will accept one or more files that you drag from your desktop, your download directory, or any other location on your computer. Files can be copied or moved via drag and drop. Unfortunately, the conventions for distinguishing between copy and move are not the same for all three operating systems. Here is a table that shows which modifier keys are used in conjunction with the mouse to select copy mode or move mode while dragging. Notice that in both Windows and Mac OS, you must depress the Control key while dragging in order to perform a copy. In Mac OS, either the Control key or the Alt key can be used. Dragging without depressing any modifier key results in a move. In Linux, dragging without any modifier key depressed results in a copy. But in order to move files, you must depress the Shift key while dragging. Drag and drop operations are easiest on Windows because the drag cursor contains either the word copy or move, depending on whether the Control key is depressed or not. That is not the case with Mac OS or Linux. There you have to know exactly what you are doing. On my desktop, I have a folder containing the files that I will use for this demo video. Now I will drag two heraldry images from that folder to the thumbnail tab of the heraldry panel. Now notice the cursor says move. Now when I depress the Control key, I change from move mode to copy mode. And there are the two files on the thumbnail pane, and there they are on the descriptions pane. So switching to the multimedia panel, I will drag two multimedia image files from my desktop folder here. Where are they? There they are. 1, 2. And copy them to the multimedia panel. Okay. Now, I can provide John Brooke with a face, and it's his own. Now let's take a look at some other drop zones in rootsTrust. First and foremost, we have the event detail form. I'm going to display John Brooke's burial event, and as you can see, it has a Documents tab and a Multimedia tab. They're both drop zones. I'll then attach a copy of his burial record to the Documents tab. And a photo of his tomb to the Multimedia tab. There's the tomb. Go back, and I failed to show you the burial record. And there's the burial record. Okay. Then we have the references form. It also has a Documents tab and Multimedia tab, which are drop zones. Next, we have the name form. It has a Documents tab and a Multimedia tab. I have an image of a file containing John Brooke's signature that I'll drag and drop onto the Multimedia tab. Okay. Then we have the source view, repository view, place view, and venue view, all of which have Documents and Multimedia drop zones. And finally, going to the biomedical panel and clicking on the DNA data tab, we see a table up here which can contain DNA tests. And when you select an entry in this table, it enables the tabs down below. And since we have no DNA tests for John Brooke, these tabs are not enabled. But they are indeed drag and drop target zones. If you link a file using the old method, that is via an add button or a pop-up menu command, you must have previously established a personal directory for the particular file type, that is document, multimedia, heraldry, or combined. However, when you use drag and drop, the appropriate personal directory is created for you automatically, if it does not already exist. If you don't like the naming convention that rootsTrust uses to create these directories, you can set up each personal directory yourself prior to importing files via drag and drop by clicking the corresponding toolbar button. rootsTrust will use that directory in any future drag and drop operations for that person and file type. Now, the toolbar buttons that I refer to are not visible for John Brooke because we have already established a combined personal directory for him. But if we navigate to the next person in the database, we'll see all 4 of these buttons. That's for documents, that's for multimedia files, combined, and heraldry. Now let's take a look at our file cabinet to see how it has changed. A few minutes ago, it was empty. Now it contains surname folder Brooke, which in turn contains a personal folder, John 1231, where 1231 is John's unique person ID. If I were to attach files to John's father, who was also named John, but whose person ID is 1286, they would be stored in a personal subfolder named John 1236. If we open folder John 1231, we will see all the files that I dragged in. Since I'm using a combined type file cabinet, documents, multimedia files, and heraldry files all reside here together. What about linking files to things that are not persons, like places, sources, venues, etc.? Personal directories do not apply to them. Such files are stored in so-called default directories that are also created automatically as part of the drag and drop process. I will now display the Source tab, which is already positioned to a volume of will abstracts for the New York City area for the period of 1786 to 1796. I have a PDF copy of this volume that I downloaded from Google Books that I will now drag onto the Documents tab, which will link it to the source. Since this is the first time I am attempting to attach a file to a source for this database, rootsTrust presents me with a form containing the suggested name and location of the default directory or folder that it is about to create. If I don't like the name and/or location, I can change it. However, any alternate path I provide must be unique and reside within a defined rootsTrust file cabinet. I accept the suggested path and the copy is completed. I will then click the Save button to save that modification. Now I can load the file by double-clicking the entry and scroll through it, and there you see will abstracts. Here we see the path of the file that was created. I've just highlighted the default directory that was created for housing all files relating to sources. It was created automatically, and the subfolder named 570 corresponds to the unique source ID of this particular source. Any subsequent files that I attach to this source will go into the same folder. Any files that I attach to a different source will go into a folder named after its source ID and being subordinate to folder source images, the highlighted default folder. If I attach files to another non-person object, similar default folders will be created, such as folder place images and folder venue images. Now let's move on to web addresses. A number of panels and forms in rootsTrust have a tab in a tabbed control that contains a table for listing websites pertaining to the current object, be it a person, place, venue, reference, or DNA test. These tables act as drop zones for drag and drop action. You can simply drag a web address from the address field of your web browser and drop it on the table. rootsTrust will attempt to create a description from the address, which it then makes visible in the table. In some cases, Due to the arcane nature of some web addresses, you might want to modify the description to something more meaningful. John Brooke has his own Wikipedia page that I will now attach to rootsTrust. Oh, here's his Wikipedia page. So I will simply drag the web address onto the website, pertinent website tab, and there it is. Now I will delete this particular tab in the browser and then double click the entry in the table, and you can see that it loads his Wikipedia page. Now this is not a particularly descriptive description, so I'm going to edit it and simply change it to Wikipedia. Okay. There are also several text fields that are reserved for web addresses, namely the map link field of the place and venue views. These fields are also drop zones, but they display the actual web address rather than a description, since the description is already map link. John Brooke was buried in a vault inside the Aston Chapel, which is located just outside of Birmingham, England. I will now populate the map link field for Aston Chapel by dragging a Google Map web address into it. See, here's the web page, the Google Map page that shows the location of the Aston Chapel, which is today called the Aston Parish Church. I will drag. Oh, I have to dial up the website tab. No, it's not websites. It's map link. There we go. Now I will delete this and I will click on map, which looks first to see if there's a value in map link. And there we have it. It displays that page showing the actual location of the Aston Chapel or Aston Parish Church. One final comment about drag and drop. Browsers Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, and Safari all support drag and drop of web addresses. The only browser that we have tested that does not participate in drag and drop is unfortunately the Microsoft Edge, the new bare bones browser for Windows 10. This concludes the drag and drop demo video. Please check out our other rootsTrust demo videos on YouTube or via the rootsTrust main menu.